Milsurp Garage, and here we are. With a Browning Pinnacle. I told you it wouldn't take long. Here I am, back with the model 1911. The true military designation is the M1911A. So this guy is a U.S. Army issued Remington Rand from where's my paperwork? 1943. This serial number is just over a million. They're 45 caliber, of course. Short recoil operated, semi-automatic single action pistols. That's what they are. This one is a wartime issue, and these things have been through so many incarnations. You can certainly get older ones, and you could certainly get newer ones. My dream was to always have a World War II vintage 1911, so that's why I got this one. And this is the one that I'm actually going to throw out here to feature as John Browning's creation. He was probably at the pinnacle of his designing right around here. This was about it. Remington Rand, Syracuse, New York. So now this is the Remington of office equipment, like Remington Rand typewriters and electric shavers. This is that Remington Rand. It's not the it's kind of like some weird affiliate of the actual Remington gun company, but it's through all these weird mergers and everything like that. It was like an offshoot. I don't know how all that kind of corporate stuff works, but I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. The Remington Rand building, 315 Park Avenue South in New York City, it's a 20 floor skyscraper that was completed in 1911. So how weird is that? It's kind of like I don't know, maybe the history of the popularity of this gun being made by them has something to do with that. It's a weird part of their history. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff. I'm looking right here. To look through what the history of this company was, forget about it. It's like it's a soap opera. But back in the early 40s, they were producing these things for the military. So let's get into. We'll show you some cool stuff about these guys. Now let's do our. First of all, let me make sure we're in. All right, this is good in frame here. Make sure that we stay in frame. Let's get out our trusty, rusty dowel. What did I do with my dowel? I rearranged some things. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to see. Let's check out how the action works. What is short recoil operated? What the hell is the difference here? We will get a lot of blowback guns. Let's see how this guy functions here. Well, we have an exposed hammer here, first of all, right? So we do have a hammer that is going to be somehow activated by this slide. Let's see what actually happens here. So we have some movement where I definitely see the bolt traveling along. Let's make it a little easier for ourselves and get the hammer out of the way, since we know it's definitely cocking the hammer. Yeah, I definitely see the bolt, the barrel, and the slide moving together here for a period. Let's just push on it and on the slide. Something's stopping the barrel from moving past here. The barrel only goes to here, and it looks to me, that interesting. It looks like it's actually dropping down. Am I getting that in a video? It's sinking. See that? So what's happening here is This was the idea behind these short recoil operated. Remember this guy? We just did this guy. Remember this was the straight blowback, right? So with the straight blowback, the barrel didn't move at all. Just the slide moved, right? And remember when we went inside, the slide was connected to the frame with these ridges, like a keyway, and those splines there fit inside and kept the barrel from moving. But if you wanted to take it apart, we would rotate it out of those splines and it would come out. There's something similar going on in here. We're going to see when we go inside, except if there were splines there, it wouldn't be able to, the slide wouldn't be able to unlock from it. So what does it do? It drops down out of those splines, drop down out of contact with the slide, and that allows, at a certain point in its travel, to continue on without the barrel. And well, it's locking open because I have a magazine inside, but that's where it would be picking up the next round. Let's take the magazine out so we can just watch a full cycle. After the explosion, the barrel and the slide move together this much, just long enough for that bullet to make it out of the barrel. And it's traveling back together. As it reaches this point, the bullet has now exited the barrel, pressures drop, barrel sinks down, slide is able to continue over the barrel, eject the case, pick up a new round out of the magazine, and as it closes, see this picks up the barrels back into place and brings it back into battery. But you see from this point here, the barrel and the slide are moving together. You see that? That's where short recoil comes in. Long recoil operation is when the barrel and the slide will stay together all the way back, and then the barrel would come forward and then and eject the round, and then the slide would come forward, pick up the next round, and close. That would be long recoil action. We take a look at my Remington Model 8 video, the rifle, to get an idea of how that works. Now let's take a look at a little bit back here. Okay, we've seen these grip safeties before. John Browning did something a little innovative right here. We have an exposed hammer, so if we want to drop this hammer, we could squeeze the trigger as long as we're depressing the grip safety, and we could drop the hammer. However, what if you wanted to do this one-handed? You would have to let go of the grip safety, and then when you pull the trigger, you wouldn't be able to drop the hammer. So what he created here was an integral system between the grip safety and the hammer, where you see if I push the hammer all the way back, it depresses the grip safety all on its own. It makes it basically just one unit. See that? So with one hand, you could pull the hammer all the way back, pull the trigger, and then drop the hammer. And there's like a hammer safety here. This is some people think this is like a half cock position to actually carry the gun. There's no such thing. There's a few different ways they recommend carrying these, condition 1, 2, and 3, and neither of them involve this half cock here. So it's either you're carrying it with the hammer dropped, full magazine, no round in the chamber, or you're carrying it round in the chamber, full magazine, or you're carrying it cocked, round in the chamber, full magazine. This is like none of those options I'm saying involve this half cock position here. This is just a safety, so that if you should slip off when you're lowering it, if you should slip off, it won't fire the gun. And if you notice, when this hammer is all the way down, it's not rocking here, that it's like it's pressing on the firing pin, because it's like a floating firing pin in here. So it's spring loaded against here. You could see that nub there that would get hit when you pulled the trigger. When the hammer dropped, it hits here. That's always spring loaded that way. You're always going to see that sticking out. And when you drop the hammer, if you would use a flashlight and look down the barrel, you would see that the firing pin is not protruded at this point to where it would strike the primer of the round. It's actually an inertia system, like where when it gets hit, it's got enough inertia to hit the primer, and then it goes back into the slot. So you understand what I'm saying? It's like an inertia thing. So you could safely carry it like this with a round in the chamber. If you drop it, it's not gonna fire, because it's not like the firing pin is sitting on the hammer, which is sitting on the primer. There's an air gap, and it's only when it gets struck that it has the inertia to come forward to hit the primer. So that's why there are concerns that if it gets dropped in a certain way, that there would be enough inertia to that firing pin if you drop it to fire it. So that's why the newer ones and the non-military ones, they have a safety. You'd see it inside. There's like a button. There's something that prevents the firing pin from coming forward unless the trigger is pressed. And you see that on the inside of the slide. This one doesn't have it, but newer ones would have that. This is the safety here. It's like a simple thumb safety. It also locks the slide so the slide can't move. This is this here is a slide release that you catch with your thumb to drop the slide. True combat handgun. And if you get yourself one of these, you got to make damn sure that you have a nice solid magazine drop like that. You definitely want to see the magazine just drop. And the reason for that is it's a combat handgun, so a tactical reload, you want to be able to just tactical reload just like that. That's what you don't want to see. You want to just be out, in. Or if you fired your last shot, it has a slide hold open, so your last shot, you're going to end up in this condition. You want to just be able to drop the mag and insert and ready yourself. You don't want to have to be in a position like this where you have to actively reach in and pull a mag out, drop it, reach in your pocket now to fill your hand with a new mag. You want to just be able to have a mag in your hand and just drop it, reinsert, and go. Combat handgun. So that's another reason why you don't really want to be messing with these grips too much, because underneath these screws are these locking pins that kind of control whether or not they're rubbing up against the magazine. So somebody that really knows what they're doing can screw around and adjust these things. But if you get one that's working properly, leave it alone. Now what else? Where are we going to go? We want to take it apart? Let's take it apart. Show you what's going on inside this thing. So there's a tool that looks like this that you could use. I'm going to show you what's going on with this one. This one's actually very interesting. This you could see it here. This was my mag. The mag in. This barrel is the guide rod, full length guide rod. This shorter guide rods. Supposed to be some kind of controversy over whether it's better to have full length or short one. This just came this way. This is one of the reasons why I got this gun and I really loved it. Is this bushing up front, the barrel and the guide rod are all replacement parts. They're newer parts, and that's what's going to make the gun shoot better, be more accurate, and functionally better. Whereas it's kind of like the frame of it, the slide, the frame, and the rest of it is all older Remington Rand. And a couple of interesting changes. The original Remington Rands had this magazine. This is called the Mainspring Housing. Was like it had like an arch in it here. And supposedly that was because they noticed that the soldiers' aim was off in some way, and they found out that by supposedly curving this helped that issue. But a lot of shooters, me included, my hand is big enough. I don't need something else like, protruding out over here. It just doesn't feel natural to me. I like the feel of it just straight like this. So that was much better to, this had already been changed to a flat one. So that was kind of cool. But these changes internally, I'll show you how we take this apart. We use this tool here to turn this bushing here and to slowly release this spring. So these newer parts here, it was nice to get one that had newer stuff. This is exactly what I was looking for. Just drop them back now. And this is the it's like a takedown notch in the slide right there, where you'll see this will pop out, push it. There's like a button part of it on the other side, and you push this right up. This is like the it's like a key that allows you to take it apart, and then everything just slides right off the frame here. And then you have the guide rod pops out of here. Guide rod pops out of here, and the barrel slides. Then you turn this key over to the other side here, and that comes out, supposedly, I've heard. See, the tolerances are much closer here with these newer parts. It's one thing that was kind of cool about getting these newer parts on here. And the barrel comes out the front, different than the ones that lift out like clocks and stuff, how they lift right out of here. And there it is, totally dismantled. Now you'd see a button underneath here. That's that safety button I was talking about before that would hold the firing pin. So you won't even hear the firing pin shake because it is spring loaded. Like if you feel it, if you press this button here, that it's spring loaded inside there. But you could see that even if I fully depress it, if you see the breech face there, it is not protruding. In order for, I don't even know if I'd be able to push it far enough to protrude. This isn't my pointy dowel. I don't want to scratch anything. Where's my pointy one? No, this one isn't really pointy either. But you could just barely see it coming out if I get the edge of that in and push it a little further than flush. You could barely see it starting to come out. So there's those locking lugs I was telling you about before, and here's the ones on the barrel. See that? So when this guy's in here, this is where it would lock into place. See how it drops in there, and it's locked. When it fires, it's just totally locked. And then when it drops down, the slide can ride over it like this. Awesome design and simple. But so you see this barrel, these are the parts here. This group right here is the parts that's new. And then this stuff, the frame, the magazine, the slide, and this pin are the stuff that's the older parts. You know, and this is nice. This is not too much slop here or whatever. This is nice and tight. And this has obviously been refinished as well. You can see this has been like reblued. There was some wear, there's a little pitting on here or whatever, but not a bad rebluing job. It's an old enough rebluing job where it doesn't look too new. And look at these fixed sights on here that are just nothing, no bells and whistles, you know. Gotta love it. So reassembly, we just go in reverse order here. We just go barrel. Alright, get the barrel in here. We get, this link is important here. See this link with the hole in it? That's important. These things can make you a little nutty. But you know, you just get used to it. Be patient and you get used to them. They're a little quirky with taking them down and putting them back together. But is that good enough? Yeah, right there is good enough. That's all we need for putting it in. Now you see, you get that hole right here perfectly lined up, so that when we get the slide on, you want to make sure everything stays together here. And when we get the slide on, there you go, you want to just be able to go right down the middle. And then you be careful with this. Everyone always talks about you don't want to move this up and down. You just kind of want to just push it right into place, straight in. And you have to line up that notch in the slide there, and then boom, there it goes. And this bushing, will go here first, and then turn it all the way around to the other side. I'm so used to not using that wrench that you see I'm using my fingers when I could easily be using the wrench. And then this spring goes over the guide rod. This capture thing here on the end. It helps here to put the safety on. And then what we do here is, again, we don't need this tool necessarily right now. If we just turn it enough to capture this guy, so you just turn, there's like a ledge there that you could capture it on, then you could just use the tool to push and turn, and we click it into place, and there we go. A little function test here. Locks open. We're good. So that's the 1911. Now, it's really cool that this has been around for so long, and that we have examples that look like this. And I bet you the Taurus haters probably will not be able to scramble to the keyboard fast enough to put this thing down, but I happen to love this. I happen to love this variant, and always wanted one and just picked one up recently. Hence the delay in the video. I wanted to be able to put this on the table and drive everybody absolutely crazy. Now I know there's like mega $1,000 versions of 1911s that are amazing. I mean, they really are. There's really gorgeous ones. I totally agree there. But what always fascinated me about this one, my a relative had one of these, and I used to shoot it all the time, and just fell in love with the thing. And it was his. As much as they talk bad about Taurus, he had some kind of recoil with his. That might have been like the safety lever. They had a thing where the safety levers were coming off. There was like something faulty in the production. Sometimes it's just something like that gives it like a bad name too. It's like, yeah, they made it some kind of error. You know, it happens with cars all the time. So, but he sent his in, and if you called up, they sent you like a prepaid box. You just put it in there, and they paid shipping back and forth and fixed it with a new part. But since then, if you got a newer one, it's obviously not that older part anymore. And other than that one hiccup, his was perfect, and I used to shoot it all the time, and I loved it. And I just had to get one of these things. Now, you see how far these things have come in the metallurgy and how they put them together with, look at the safety lever here. It's ambidextrous safety, so even if you're holding it lefty, you could take the safety on it. And just even that positive clicking there that you hear, just how precise and how precision everything is. And again, here we're with a full-length guide rod here. And you see there's the rail on the bottom here for adding accessories like a light or a laser or something like that. And again, you know, you want to make sure that you're dropping the mags just like that. And this thing is awesome. I love the PT 1911. And you could write all your hate, and I don't care. I'm not going to love it any less. I think they're pretty good. And I always like to fight for the underdog. I always like to root for the underdog, I should say. So, That's why I'll buy one of those, just because I dare something to go wrong with it, so I could nurture it back into proper working order. That's what I live for. But I don't really have much experience with this one yet because it's a new acquisition for me, but I feel good about it. So let's go to the Browning book. There's the man. Let's thank him. It's a personally signed book by him. Yeah. So let's give some props to the people who actually wrote this book and created it. American Gunmaker, illustrated biography, The Man and His Guns. This book is awesome. I mean, this book starts off the father, the son, the man, the legend. What else is he? So here we were with the, here's the 1903 pocket. And then FN, he worked with FN to come out with this 1903, which was a 9mm gun, I think. Is this 9mm? Yeah. He didn't make many of those things. 58,000 of them. And then these are the first 45s, the military models that he made. Look at that, no hammer on these. And then he settled on, here it is, model 1911 government, 45 caliber, Colt, Remington, and others. Everybody making them, even back then. And look, lots of information on it here. And then after that, 25 caliber vest pocket. That was next. I'm not going to say nothing, but if you're interested, just stay tuned. We're going to be moving on along the Browning line. But for now, let's just take a moment of silence for the 1911. Look at the difference in the trigger. It's like this teeny little, trigger right here, and then on these newer ones, look at the advancements, how they've come, the difference in how they feel, and how they put them together. It's still following the same design, you know what I mean, but it's been through so many countless revisions and improvements without actually changing the design, just in the components and the precision of how they're put together. But fabulous, isn't it? And again, I said, this is a good idea if you listen. One of these from the World War I era or whatever, forget about it. They're like way too much money for me. And then these real correct looking World War II ones, even still thousands, way too much for me. This one I got for a decent price, triple digits. So you're lucky you're even getting one of these World War II vintage for triple digits. So I had to deal with some replacement parts, but good stuff. You know what I mean? The barrel, I have this written down. The barrel is a Barstow, BAR-STO. I don't know much about these aftermarket companies that make stuff for these things, but it says Barstow 8-71. That's what it says on it. So it's that company is Barstow Precision Machine. That's the name of the company. And I'm pretty sure that it was the barrel, the full-length guide rod, and the barrel washer. Called a washer? I forgot what it's called. But that part, I think, is just all came as a set, I believe, that the person put this thing together, used. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the older parts with it in a drawer, but I do not. So that's that, everyone. Yeah, Browning 1911. Chill evening this evening. It really is. Nice evening to play with the 1911. Here, I'll tell you what. Go a little further. Let's take some snap caps. Let's take some snap caps and take a look. You want to see smoothness? I'll show you smoothness. This thing is like the smoothest loading pistol ever. And these rounds, God, they're like, look at these things. They're like little bombs. They're like bomblets. The 45 is, I'm not going to fully load the mag. We're just going to, for all general principles, that'll do just fine. They load so beautiful. The mag's going so nice. Watch how you could get the feel for how buttery this is going to be. Watch this. Oh man, that's buttery. Yep, it's that smooth. It really is. And shooting these things is amazing because this action, this heavy slide, this action, it soaks up a lot of the recoil. And it's interesting because between the twist of this heavy bullet going down the barrel and it ejecting out of the side, it kind of gives like a twisty feel to it, so it'll kick away from the ejection port a little bit, just a little bit. So it's just enough to kind of give it its own special feel, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe all 45s feel that way. I don't know, but I know the 1911s do that. So I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's just such a big, heavy bullet. I mean, look, what do I got here? I got 230 grain bullets here. I mean, that's pretty sick. 230 grains is a big, heavy bullet. And one cool little thing is I have some like old ammo here that's pretty cool. This stuff is what year is this stuff? 1928. That's pretty cool looking stuff right there too, right? 1928 ammo. Found some of that somewhere, like a half a box that somebody gave me, and I wouldn't shoot it, but it's just kind of cool to have that laying around. So I'm done. John Browning, Remington Rand, M1911A, Syracuse, New York, United States property. Serial number just over 1 million. Rock and roll. See you guys soon.